Hello everybody and welcome back to Editor J's Editing Hour. Today we're going to talk about Premiere Pro. The basics. How to edit. The easy stuff. First, let's open a new project. File, new project, basics PP. Now, if you don't know how to PP it by now, well, I suggest a long-term care center. I am being very quiet this evening. First, let's import some footage by going to File, Import, Import, Import. And we're going to pick this little guy right here and this little guy right here and hit open. Yeah. And it'll bring it in, and we'll right click this time here in the project panel and hit import folder on this entire folder. And it's going to bring in that entire folder. It's like magic. Not The Gathering, but like Hogwarts. Wizardry. Next, organize your work area. Create a new bin. Hit this little folder icon. Name this footage. Drag your footage directly into that bin, and voila, you've got something cool. Now I like to move it here. You can just hold it and drag it over there. And then when we go back, hit this little line thing, and look at how pretty that looks. Big blocks, little ones, big blocks, little ones. Very nice. Very cool. Okay, let's create a new sequence next. That is the next step. You can right click the video file and select new sequence from clip, and poof, just like Dumbledore, it appears out of nowhere. Apparate, apparation, disapparate, apparate. Here you can play around with this little doohickey to make this larger for you to be able to see it, and play with it a little bit more accurately. Here in the project preview window, you can check out a preview, which is really cool. And let's just say you want a little piece of this. What you can do is set an in point, mark in, hit this little tilde looking thing and mark out, and then hit comma on the keyboard, and poof, it appears. Unbelievable. It's amazing. And again, you can move this little thing up and down when you see that, and it will make it easier to see. What I'm doing now is holding Alt-click, not Alt-click, Alt-mouse wheel, while pointing at it, and it zooms in and out on that little clip on the timeline, which is a very, very cool trick. Very neat stuff. I once zoomed in on a car while walking backwards in a snowstorm. That was tons of fun. I got so close that I fell off of it. This here is your selection tool. You can hit V, and this is the tool you're going to use to select parameters, clips, audio files, folders, etc., etc. Very neat, very cool, very fun. Next is your cut tool or razor tool, and you'll hit C for that. This is the tool you're going to use to cut your footage. Cut, cut, cut. It is the handiest dandiest tool you've ever seen, because it lets you cut things like footage and watermelons, potentially for now. You can take this little piece out here and then select that empty spot, hit delete, and that will just completely take away the empty space. Now, next thing we're going to play with here is the speed of the clip. Now, you can click this little effects icon, right click, and go down to time remapping speed, and it gives you this new little line, and you can drag that up and down to speed it up and slow it down. Now, let's speed this way up. Let's warp speed. And now we'll drag that over and put it back together. And as you can see, it goes really fast and then really slow. Regular speed. So now let's make it. Let's drag this sucker out of the way. Make it a little bit slower. Drag this back. And now we have regular, slow motion. And then speed this one up by going to speed and duration, right click, speed and duration, type in a number, super fast, and ready? A lot of filmmakers are doing this now with the speed ramps and speed slowdowns. It just adds a very interesting dynamic, you know? It's pretty cool. It goes fast, slow, and then regular. Really cool stuff. Very watchable. Very satisfying to see. Now, you know, one time I was riding a bike down a hill and I slowed down and I sped up to super speed and I crashed into a no parking sign. That's a true story. And all my friends were like, oh my god, that was the best looking footage I've ever seen. Moving on. Let's talk about transitions. Premiere Pro for $21 a month with a free trial. Comes with a ton of built-in transitions so that you can switch between clips seamlessly. Now you can come up here to the effects panel, open video transitions, most common dissolve, cross dissolve, click and drag right down to the clips, drop them right in between, and nothing happens because these two clips are connected. Now, the ones that skip a beat, you can drop that right in, and here you go, cross dissolved. Unbelievable, isn't that cool? And then there's a whole bunch of other cool stuff you can toss in there. Let's skip this one for now, because that could be analyzing for some time. And moving on. It's still analyzing. That is something. Let's delete that. Now Premiere Pro comes with a whole bunch of video effects presets, so you can just twirl down in here and play around with whatever kinds of things you want. Adjustments. Has lighting effects. Look at that. It's like a spotlight shining down on him. You can like go to effects controls and play with these things. Play with these values and colors, and you can make it green. There's a nice green light that adds a nice interesting look to it. Ambience, metal, exposure, all sorts of cool things you can do to make your shots a little more interesting. Delete that. Anyway, moving on, get blur and sharpen, so you can do a bunch of different blurs. Color correction, we'll get into that soon. Distortions, let's just bring a lens distortion. And go to effects controls, and you can change the curvature of it, in and out, decentralizing. You can have him like standing on a half pipe, playing with his sword. Too bad he doesn't have a skateboard. If he did, he'd be rolling around in there. Tons of stuff. Tons of stuff. Next thing we're going to look at is this little guy, text. So you can add texture layer. Just hit T, drag and drag a nice little box there, type in whatever you gotta type in. We'll call this guy sword play. Move it over, trim it down, and highlight it, and then come over here to the effects controls, and in this area now you can, under the text, you can change its font, change its size, you can play with the letter spread, you know, letter height, letter position, how close or far apart the letters are. Let's smash them together. Smash, like eggs. Let's change the color to a blue. Now we can add a stroke, which is like an outline. Let's pick black. Increase the size of that. Nice outline. Now let's add a shadow. Gives it a slight three-dimensional look. And this is how far away it is from the word. We can just kind of drag that out so it looks like there's a little shadow on the wall. Looks pretty good. And then soften. Let's give it a little bit more. That's a lot more. Bring it back. And soften the shadow some. And, you know, soften it a hell of a lot more, which is really fun. And there you have text. Now, if you, let's add some music here. That's a good one. Drop that right in at the end. Drag it on over. That should not be turned up like that. So, we're just gonna hit G on the keyboard, subtract maybe 12 decibels, and that will put the audio around -12, which is pretty good for songs. If you have someone talking, you probably want to lower that to like -18 and have the voice be at -9. That's customary. Next thing we're going to talk about is color correction. So you can come to the color correction in the effects panel, and it has got all sorts of built-in options. I prefer Lumetri color personally, and you can always do it that way and drag and drop Lumetri color down onto the clip. Go to effects controls and then try to fix it from here. However, it doesn't quite give you all the tools that you're going to need to get an accurate color correction. So what I like to do is come up here to the color panel, and you're going to see all these little windows down in the right hand corner. These are your scopes, and it's going to give you RGB parade for your colors. It's going to be waveform for your black and white, and it's going to give you a colorful wheelie thing over there, which I barely ever use unless we're changing skin tones, which I generally never do because I am a serious amateur. Now, once that's out there, you can hit the white balance selector, pick the brightest spot in the scene. There we go, and that'll just tint it some. Turn down the exposure just to 10. Just a smidge is what I meant to say. Then we want to add a little contrast. We'll probably pull that back some. Let's get our whites. Whites need to be up at 100, right just at 100. And then the blacks we can bring down to 0. And then we'll peel back on our shadows a little bit. And highlights come down a little bit. And that's pretty good right here, pretty good right there in contrast. And turn it off, show the difference. Not bad, not too bad. It just adds some depth. Add a little saturation, just put a little color in, and then come all the way down. Wait a second, let's make it warmer. Add a little red. And then come down to curves. Here you can change overall brightness and darkness. It doesn't seem to be working for me for some reason or another, but you can kind of bring down the colors if you need to. There we go, add some points. This is called a contrast curve, so you pin the middle, add some brightness, pull out some mid-tones and low tones, and just darken that scene up a little bit. And you can see the blues are a little bit higher than the others, so pull down the blue and you'll see the blue come down. And we'll just pull down the green a tiny bit. And let's add a little bit of red to warm up the scene. And then come all the way down here and really crank up the vignette. See, if you go all the way up, it's white. I don't do that. I like the black vignette. It looks kind of like a camera boxes around the corners, and then feather that out a good amount. And you have this pretty nice clip right there. Now, I have to add that color correction is pretty much preference. You know, it's all style. It's all how you like to see your footage. As long as it looks good to you, you go ahead and do that. So now, I'm going to bring in this clip again. This is the next step. I'm going to cut it up a bunch. Change the speed of this one down to 70. Bring this back over. Let's put a cut right here. I'm going to change the speed to, say, 250. Move this over. Let's see what that looks like. Oh no, let's add some text first. Sword master man. That looks good. Then we're going to hold down to extend that all the way. And apply default transition. That's going to be a crossfade in and a crossfade out. Highlight all this, move it over to the beginning. There we go. Now hit V, select that, move that to the center, center-ish. Let's see what that looks like. Not too shabby. So now you have this Sword Master Man clip. Let's move. If you hit A, you'll see these arrows pop up, and you can move all the things to the right out of the way, which is pretty cool. Instead of moving them individually and maybe mislining the things you have all up in there, you can just move it all. Now, let's copy this text. Alt, click, and drag. We'll copy it. Let's copy it twice. Let's take this one, and we're gonna click it and move it down to the bottom. Oops, wrong one. Click it, move it down to the bottom, and move that one down. Double click and type very fun. Double click or highlight. Type in cooler than Dave. Cooler than Big Box Dave. BBD. And there you have some nice little words popping up on the screen. Let's move this one here. Make it smaller. And that you can just do click and drag on these points. Move that one over. Move this one slightly up and make it a little bit smaller. Let's change the color of this one. Come back to the editing panel. Come back down to the text. Let's change it to Sergo. Select the color, make it purple. have it fade off at the end. Take a screenshot. That's how you take a screenshot. A little camera icon over there. Now that that's done, you should always, it's a little side note, always save your work. Anyway, now that that's done, come down to export. This is your clip, export media. Click on this blue text, name your file, sword, save it, then come and you can uncheck these areas to change it if you want to. I usually keep mine 1920 by 1080 for YouTube. Performance settings, you really not need to change these, but you can, just so you can see. I usually keep mine at main. I do generally like to change the maximum bit rate to higher. The higher you go, the longer this process is going to take rendering. Just a heads up, but the better quality. Always check use maximum render quality and hit export. And there you have it. 3 minutes from now, your video will be done. And I meant to say 4 minutes from now, your video will be done. Isn't that amazing? So, thank you for watching. This is Editor J of OpenSea Films and MTG Attitude. I had a lot of fun. I'm really happy you were here with me tonight. It is very late, but I'm excited that you're watching today and learning how to edit. Sooner or later, we will be going over some free options for those of you who do not have the funds to get Premiere Pro or Adobe After Effects, although these are the go-to systems that you should use. However, we will compare with some free software that is available to you on the internet and do like a fun comparison video in the future. So I don't know when that is, but it could be cool. Now, I hope this was informative. I'm glad you were here with me. Thank you for watching. If you like what we're doing here and you want to learn more, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you like Magic the Gathering, don't forget to check out MTG Attitude at youtube.com/MTG Attitude, link in the description below. And hey, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you. Have a good one.